Hi, everybody. Welcome back to LA Not So Confidential. This is Dr. Scott. I'm here with my bestie.
That's me, Dr. Shiloh. Hello.
We're glad to be back. It's the wonderful, most wonderful time of the year. It's
Right.
fall, and
Yes.
it's getting close to being Halloween, which we love.
Right. We're kind of starting to wear sweatshirts and stuff like that in the morning and afternoon here.
Yeah.
But it's still super hot during the day.
Exactly. But you got the corporate air conditioning to throw your wrap around you during the day.
Last night, I was texting with Rebecca from Yellow Tape True Crime and Dialogue because she's coming out here this weekend. And she's like, what do I pack? And so I sent her a screenshot. I was out at CVS and I'm in flip-flops and sweats. I'm like, this is how we roll. I don't know what to tell you. I'm just going to confuse you.
In that outfit, you're totally ready to go to the opera. If you live in LA, you can go to the most posh event and people will show up in juicy sweatpants. It's like
or
ridiculous.
Walmart in the middle of the night.
It could be anything.
Yeah.
So this week, what was a couple of things.
Yeah.
We wanted to thank everybody for the unbelievable support that we got from our fans, from our listeners, and putting up reviews on iTunes. You guys blow me away. You absolutely blow me away. We now have a higher ranking with True Crime podcasts than we did last time.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Not only did you knock us back on the 200 top list, you knocked us even higher than we were. You guys are awesome.
They were really meaningful and really cool. People put a lot
Thoughtful.
of thought into them.
They really did.
We
It was
appreciate that.
It was really great.
The feedback is great.
And yeah, we like the feedback, and we even like constructive feedback. We got a 2-star review, and
Yep.
yeah.
I'm surprised it wasn't a 1. It is a dissertation of a review, so go read it.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't really get where some of the stuff comes from. The only thing that I would say is that there was a comment about reading from the DSM, and I'm guilty as charged.
Yeah,
It's
of
our
course.
Bible. That's
Right.
what we work from, and we're constantly, of course, we're going to read from it.
Yeah, that each time that we've done that, I think it's been very purposeful in talking about whatever diagnosis it is that we want to get it exact because it lends to whatever we're speaking about in the rest of the episode and giving examples and maybe what some criteria are. So it is very exact. I mean, we're bringing in the book and literally reading from it.
Yeah. And one of the things about the DSM is that unlike many other textbooks or technical manuals within the medical and mental health field, the DSM actually can be understood by the layman.
Right.
That's the way it's designed to be read and understood. And so anyway, we use it, and sometimes it's best just going with the most basic stuff so you don't screw it up.
Exactly.
So we're talking about a subject this week that comes up pretty regularly and is in the zeitgeist right now because of a summer movie, a fall movie, and then another movie. And it's basically we're talking about clowns.
Yeah. The fear of.
Fear of clowns, the reasoning behind the fear of clowns, a little bit on the history of clowns. Then I was able to find some unfucking believable research on clowns
That's
and
amazing.
creepiness, which
Right.
who knew? I
Right.
had not gone quite in this area, but we're going to explore that.
So can I tell a story about how we got this topic?
How did we – wait, you know what? I don't even know how we got this topic.
So
you
this-
just suggested it. What happened?
This came in from a listener. Her name is Megan. And
Hey, Megan.
She sent us an email. The backstory of how Megan became a listener is better than how we got this topic. So I just wanted to tell that real quick. But Megan is a badass fingerprint examiner for a law enforcement agency here in California.
Cool.
And she's up in Northern California. My dad, as you know, lives up in Northern California as well. And my father, being a former law enforcement officer himself, whenever there is a law enforcement funeral up in his area, he likes to go to the memorial or the funeral as being part of that community, although now retired. So my dad, 2 things. He's going to always be super early to things. And if there's somebody with ears there, he will be talking to them.
Literally the friendliest, chattiest guy. And he doesn't talk about like just bullshit. I mean, like he's just generally interested in everybody. It's really great.
He's one of the most emotionally intelligent men that I know.
Yeah.
And he just is very interested in other people.
We should ask your mom about that.
Oh, God.
That's a conversation.
Yeah, they've been divorced for 38 years. So my dad goes to this memorial for this officer that was killed in the line of duty and ends up sitting next to this woman. And so they're chatting and kind of talking about what they do. And eventually at some point he pitches our podcast and says, "Oh, I think you would really like my daughter's podcast. It's about true crime and forensic psychology." And sure enough, we get an email from her maybe a week or so later saying, "Hey, I just wanted to reach out to Dr. Shiloh and let her know I met her dad and he was lovely and I'm listening to the podcast and I love it." So we've had a lot of back and forth with Megan. I sent her a T-shirt for suggesting this topic because I thought it was such a good idea to talk about the fear of clowns and all of that for our Halloween episode because we like to do something a little bit special during Halloween. So that's pretty cool. I'm excited to get
it's
stuff
actually a great
listener.
topic. It's a great topic because we found a lot more stuff than I was expecting to. So we're going to cover a wide spectrum here on the subject, and to give a little bit of historic background for me being sort of having an opinion about this subject, which is pretty common with most people. I'm not like a huge fan of clowns. And it wasn't until I started researching this and reading about it, I kind of figured out why I have this reaction, which I'm going to share with you. But my partner, my husband and I have this thing called The List.
Oh, yeah.
And have we talked about The List on the podcast?
I don't know.
So
but anyway, let's recap.
Dan and I have been together for decades, and I remember us kind of like watching TV one time, and there was like a professional stilt walker, like on some show, and it was really weird, and I don't know. And I said, "Oh God, that's on the list." And he's like, "What do you mean, the list?" And I said, "Well, there's just a list of particular types of people and sort of tangential, odd, eccentric areas of entertainment where people who do that, they have a certain eccentricity to their personality that can make you really uncomfortable." And of course, the list is very broad. And
it's grown. I've added to it a couple things.
Oh, we've both added to it, and like magicians, because I've done magician shows. I did magic shows and card casinos in Carson, California. You know, and had to dance on that fucking magician's parrot bird shit on its stage. And
aren't like people who work with birds?
Bird people, yeah.
Definitely.
Which
on the list
now
too.
I feel bad about because I realize like I'm reading all this research on how incredibly intelligent birds are.
Right.
But I don't know. But anyway, so clowns are definitely on the list.
Right. They are on the list.
Right.
So in sort of prepping for this, I interviewed someone that I thought kind of was important to hear from about the creepiness of clowns, who's my daughter.
Right.
And she's 7. And I got to thinking one day, she's only 7. I wonder why she thinks clowns are creepy. Because she does, and she tells me that.
So you didn't give her any prep before this?
None.
Okay.
None. So I decided to ask her about clowns, and we're going to play that clip for you now.
Cool.
So this is Dr. Shiloh. I am here with my daughter, Sydney, and I wanted to talk to her about why she thinks clowns are creepy and scary and ask her about her experiences with clowns. So, Sydney, can you tell me why you find clowns scary?
Well, I find clowns scary because they have really big smiles and they have a lot of makeup on, and some clowns have big eyes, and I don't really like how clowns mess around sometimes, and it makes me scared for some reasons, and just because they have really big smiles and they can sometimes be creepy in a lot of movies.
Okay, that makes sense. Can you tell me a little bit about the history of clowns as you understand it?
Yeah. So, back when kings and queens were still there, even though there still is a queen in London, or whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
So, clowns would be they would do silly things for the king and mess around, but if they made the king mad, they would get killed.
Oh. Okay, so like a court jester.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then, like, let's say next century, like in Victorian times, clowns would be doing silly things, swallowing stuff whole, I guess. And at the end of the show, they would throw candy for kids. And then, so that one was actually not that scary.
And that would take place where, like outside in a courtyard or something?
Yeah.
Okay.
And they'd like have masses instead of like masks. I don't know how to say the plural of mask, but
That's okay.
so they wear masks and they would like put it on instead of wearing makeup because that's hard to get to clean off.
Sure.
And so the next one to clowns like being silly in a circus for kids. And if you want to know why clowns wear makeup that's like crazy and everything, it's so you could see like their face from far away. It's not like to be scary or anything.
So it's over exaggerated so people could see it if they're sitting far away at the circus.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And then now sometimes clowns are scary because the makeup is big and they realized it's scary for people if you look up close.
That totally makes
So
sense.
they made it scary in movies and stuff.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming on LA Not So Confidential. We appreciate it.
You're welcome.
All right. Bye-bye.
Okay, first, she has an amazing voice.
I
We should
know.
get her on. She should have her own podcast.
She's going to take
for
my
kids.
job.
She's got a great little voice. And how interesting with no prep that she immediately comes up that it's uncomfortable.
Right.
She doesn't really have the vocabulary, I think,
Exactly.
to describe it, but you can really get where she's coming from.
And I think it's going to make a lot of sense as you kind of talk about what you discovered in
Right.
the research. It's exactly what she's saying and articulating. And I love that she gave us a little history on clowns as well. She needed to throw that in there, a little smarty pants. But yeah, what she's saying is exactly what we found in the research. So just a fun little piece to throw in there.
Yeah. So we pulled from a lot of different areas of research, and of course, we're going to put our show notes up. And if you're interested in pursuing any of this, there are two things that we're going to have connections to. There's an actual research paper that is fascinating and well written, and there's also a Smithsonian Magazine article that is just really, really great. And the title of the article is The History and Psychology of Clowns Being Scary.
Is that the journal article?
No, that's from Smithsonian
Oh, okay.
Magazine. The journal magazine is about creepiness. So
Okay,
we're kind of
good.
doing the
Nice.
crossover here.
Gotcha.
So what's interesting about this sort of the term that we use is it's not a phobia, but it's a fear isn't it lumped in the DSM under childhood fears? Coulrophobia. Is it coulrophobia?
I didn't know if it was
Yes, here it is right
lumped
here.
in there.
So it's lumped under, it's in the DSM, but it's under childhood anxiety disorders and fears.
Okay.
And it's not just clowns. It's any kind of masked character
Okay,
or
that's what I was
costumed
gonna say.
character.
Masked creatures. something
Exactly.
Like that.
So it could go along with people who are phobic of furries and fuzzies as well, as we've talked about in our paraphilia episode. So, you're not alone. There is more of a negative connotation with clowns in recent years because the storyline has been changed. And there's actually an interesting cultural and sociological phenomenon related to why it has moved from this sort of, happy, entertaining buffoon into this sort of ominous and threatening character. So the history, like Sydney was saying, is that jesters and clowns in ancient times provided a very important part of the governmental and ruling structure in monarchies because the fool or the jester was really the only one that was allowed to make fun of the ruling government. And then that was super enhanced by Shakespeare's writing, because in Shakespeare's dramas and comedies, the only one who knew what the fuck was going on was the clown, the fool. So the one idiot in the play is actually the one who is aware of what is actually happening. So that's kind of a really cool,
That's really interesting.
omniscient, prescient type of character that now has morphed into this really frightening aspect. But so, like I said, historically they've been jesters, and they've been a vehicle, quote unquote, for poking fun and providing satire on powerful people. Anyway, there's history of this going back as far as ancient Egypt. Shakespeare was one of the first ones to use the word clown. Now, one thing that's really important that will play a part in our understanding how clowns shifted into creepy is we have to kind of understand how theater was performed and perceived by audiences in pre-modern times. So if we go back to the ancient Greeks, if you look at the amphitheaters, like if you look at pictures of Greece and going to the ruins, you see these amphitheaters, and it's kind of really cool. You think, oh, they sat here and they watched these plays. How do you think the sound was projected?
From the way the amphitheater was formed.
Absolutely. So the amphitheater was formed to enhance sound,
Right.
But
Visually.
but that's not all that was done. What else was done was that most of the time in Greek tragedy and comedy, they wore masks.
That would project sound?
Yes, they had
Okay.
megaphones built into them. So they were shouting, basically, and then it was a little, it was enhanced by that. So as theaters became enclosed over the years, and women were not allowed to play men's roles, so usually the only time that makeup was used was when there were a female character. So in the advent of circuses, you had clowns and the development, like in certain areas of like French theater and English theater, you had these classic characters like Pierrot and Pierrette, and they were white-faced with black markings and red cheeks, and they would pantomime these, sort of standard dramas over and over, and it was usually without sound. But then as the clown started developing into a comedic buffoon-type character, the makeup got a little more stylized into 4 different types of clowns. There was going to be the person who was the mischievous clown, and there was going to be the clown that got beaten up by the mischievous clown, basically. If there was a medieval pie, that
The
was
victim
what was
clown
happen.
and the perpetrator clown.
Exactly. And there were a couple of others as well. But here's where it gets interesting is as it moved into the era of large circuses, it went from 1 ring into 3 rings with massive audiences. They realized that the performers, the clowns, in order to be seen by by the nosebleed seats,
Right.
they had to wear more makeup, and they had to make the features really exaggerated. So now you're seeing huge lips, huge rouged cheeks, huge eye makeup.
And specific to whatever character they're playing, whether it's a smile or
Exactly.
downturn.
And-
downturned frown or something.
And even more exaggerated actions and gestures.
And big shoes.
And huge shoes, which are apparently very expensive. I
You know
did
what
some
that
research
means.
on that, too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're like $1,500 a pair.
Oh, my God.
But so what happened is as their actions and their gesticulations, as their gestures got bigger and their makeup got bigger, suddenly they weren't so funny and entertaining anymore. I mean, it's interesting. I mean, if you go to Vegas and you see any of the Cirque du Soleil shows like or Love,
Right.
those clowns are way different. Like it's
yeah.
all like really amazing kind of physical comedy, and there's a little bit of makeup, but it's not like this John Wayne Gacy type
Right.
clown, which, by the way, his makeup is terrifying.
I know. I
Terrifying.
get it was the early to late 70s, but come on.
Yeah,
Like, who's
Awful.
going to let that person in their
just
house?
awful. So when we talk about like some of the negative connotations that clowns have, there was a phenomenon back in the mid 90s that started in going across the country, which was sort of whatever your city represented would be represented in, they would generate like fiberglass statues of it. So LA is the city of angels.
Okay, right,
So
right.
all like probably 75 to 100 different artists all got a fiberglass angel, and
Right.
they decorated it. And there's like a tourist angel, and there's a
We have one in my city, in my post office in the city I live in.
what's
is
it
one of them.
decorated as?
Our city, like different things about orange groves and things
Oh,
like that
cool.
where
Okay.
I live.
So they did that, and then like in someplace in Iowa, there's it's all giant ears of corn.
Right.
Well, in Sarasota, Florida,
Oh,
in
Jesus.
2006, which is where all the circuses go during the winter,
Fucking Florida.
it was clown statues.
No.
And people hated them so much they broke them, defaced them, destroyed them. They couldn't keep them. They couldn't replace them because people had such a negative connotation.
Oh
I mean, it
my
is Florida,
gosh.
but come on.
Well, yeah, I know. Wow.
I just thought that was so interesting. They also had,
Come on,
according
pick
to
an
the,
alligator or something.
I know.
Or is it crocodile? No, it's alligator, right? Which ones are in Florida?
Alligator. You made me think.
You're from the South. Come on.
And then one of the things that they assume is that like, oh, kids are going to be fans of clowns. Now that was what I was going to say, is that my clown stuff comes from one of the Christmas presents I got as a kid was a puzzle of the clown Emmett Kelly, which is the sad clown.
Oh,
And he's just
jeez.
like, it's the most depressed clown. And I remember like looking at the picture of the box, and it was like in this super hyper detailed photograph of like the layers of grease paint and his
Ooh.
terrible skin underneath, and like
His
this
pores.
yeah, this pores and like this kind of stuff oozing from his eyes. I just remember going, I don't want to put this puzzle together.
Thank you.
And then I
Grandma.
had a dentist office that had ceramic clowns all over it.
Oh God.
Yeah, it was gross. So, kids don't generally react well to clowns, and it's probably because of the exaggerated expressions and the exaggerated
Yeah.
gestures and the makeup, and that is because of there's a couple of different theories about it. One, Dr. Rami Nader, who is a Canadian psychologist, and she studies coulrophobia, which is what they consider to be the irrational fear of clowns, even though it's not listed in the DSM as a specific diagnosis. She feels, her theory is that what is disturbing is that you as an observer of a clown are disturbed because you can't tell what they're actually feeling or what they're actually expressing, because the physical structure of their face may not be congruent with the makeup that is drawing.
So there's
that has
a
been-
person under there, and
Right.
we get enough of those features, but then it might be conflicting
Right.
with the makeup.
I
We don't know what to make of that.
Right. I don't buy it. I mean,
Okay.
I think it's interesting.
Yeah.
And certainly this is somebody who's done more research than I have in this area. But what I have done research in, which I find really fascinating, is called Uncanny Valley. And
Yes.
Uncanny Valley is something that everyone, whether you know the name of it, you are familiar with it. You are familiar with this phenomenon because it is when something is very close to looking humanistic, but it's just off enough to make you really kind of feel uncomfortable and feel it in the pit of your stomach.
Right.
And some of them are like the hyper-realistic cutscenes from video games.
Yeah,
that-
or like the Final Fantasy movie.
Yeah.
Things like that, where it obvious, and even when it's depicted after a real actor that you know,
Yeah.
and they're voicing the character, there is something really weird about
Remember
that.
Polar Express? That was the one with
Yes,
Tom
yes.
Hanks, and it was like nobody liked it. They were like, "Oh, this is so creepy looking,"
Right.
and
Even though the mannerisms were there and it kind of looked like him,
Yeah.
and that was really odd.
so
That's a good example.
And the reason, so the Uncanny Valley is that the reason they use the term valley is that it is the region of negative emotional response. So, and the theory is that all of this comes from a biological imperative or an evolutionary tendency to be repulsed or grossed out by something that looks unhealthy, or it looks sick, or it just doesn't look right. So basically, this could all be stemming from our innate sense that this is unhealthy,
right.
I might not, it might make me sick, it might kill me, or I can't reproduce with it. So, I mean, which is a survival skill. I mean, it's built
Sure.
into our genetics.
Sure.
Which I just
Or
feel
this is a mutation of some sort. I don't want to keep procreating with that.
right. So just don't fuck any clowns.
Right.
Sorry.
Done.
Okay, there we go. And it's coming up a lot now with the humanoid type robots. I mean, they're
Right.
getting better and better, but there are some that are, I mean, you can go online on YouTube and look at some of the ones from 10 years ago, and it's like a horror movie. They're so disturbing to me.
But I think as it gets closer, that's really the sweet spot of it being creepy.
Yes,
Right?
absolutely.
So
because
if it's so robotic.
Because it's opposite. If it's a cute robot that is like clearly not trying to look human, people don't have a problem with it.
Gotcha.
But the
Okay.
closer it gets to looking human is when it gets really disturbing.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting? So
Yes,
I think
it
that I
is.
really think that that's the reason why. It's not necessarily completely different from what Dr. Oh, what's her name? What Dr. Nader. It's not different necessarily completely different.
True, I
but
agree. I agree. Did you find anything that, because I wondered, and just in talking to my own kid about now, and especially with these generations, is it because she is seeing the modeling from me because I've grown up with the movies of the 80s that we'll probably talk about, John Wayne Gacy, things like that, where I'm like, okay, there are reasons I'm creeped out by it. And she's just picking up on that from now our generation that just now realizes clowns are creepy. So I'm shaping her behavior to think that.
I can't imagine that it wouldn't have some kind of bearing
Right.
on it.
But then also, so nature nurture, there's
Yeah.
something about being creeped out just by the sensory piece of it. But then also maybe because your parents are like, clowns.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
changing
there's
the channel.
in doing some of the research. One of the things they were talking to clowns, professional clowns, and one of them is a guy that bills himself as a non-makeup clown. So he has like a costume, and it's funny. I mean, it's like a whole set of characters he does with like physical pratfalls and jokes and balloon animals and stuff. But he's like, hey, I don't wear the makeup, and apparently that makes all the difference for kids' parties
wow.
and for the parents that are hiring him, because
Oh,
I
I
think the
bet.
parents are creeped out as well.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I wonder how many clowns are really getting hired for parties these days.
I don't know. I mean,
And they've got to be all Spider-Man and Elsas, right?
right. But it's interesting because up until 20 years ago, clowns were still like a major branding emblem. I mean, Ronald McDonald.
Yeah.
McDonald has been taken off so much of the branding for McDonald's.
True. God.
So there was Clarabelle the Clown, who was on the Howdy Doody Show, which is, sort of my generation more than anybody else's. But then Bozo, and I remember seeing Bozo and just being like completely creeped out by
Yeah.
Bozo with that huge, like fringe of hair that stuck
Right.
out. It was gross. Anyway, so there's other research that's confounding too, because they have found in 2013 in the issue of Health Psychology, a research was done in an Italian hospital that showed that with well-trained clowns, pre-operative anxiety in children went down. But they didn't describe like what it meant. I mean, I don't know, like, was there
Right.
less makeup? Was it a certain kind? Was it joking? Was it throwing pies on sick kids? I don't know.
Right. Yeah. Was it just distracting them long enough to not think about the surgery?
Right.
Yeah.
But now we get into like the real meat of what I was able to find, which is just fascinating. I'm like a huge fan of somebody I just discovered, Dr. Francis T. McAndrew. And he and an undergrad student at the time, Ms. Sarah Konicki, they wrote an article in a social and psychological journal, and it's called On the Nature of Creepiness, because I think that's what we're talking about, is
Yep.
how people get so creeped out
Love
by
it.
clowns. So I did what most anybody does. Like, I've got access to what we call EBSCOhost, which gives me a whole bunch of academic journals. I get it through like a professional organization, but it doesn't give me all of them. So the greatest thing we all know now, because I learned this from an academic meme, I didn't know it until a year ago, is that you just contact the author.
Yeah.
Like, hey, dude, I want to read your paper. Can you
Right.
send me a copy? Got it today.
See, like that psychiatrist
I
I
know.
reached out to.
Exactly.
Just gave me everything.
So I've been emailing him back and forth. He's fantastic. So Frank McAndrew is an American social psychologist, and he is the professor of psychology at Knox College in Galesburg, Illinois. He founded the Environmental Studies program, and he chaired the psychology department for over a decade. He has been twice honored with the Philip Green Wright Lombard College Prize for Distinguished Teaching. And he is very proud of the fact that more than 100 of his former students have completed a doctoral degree in psychology or a closely related field.
cool.
And he wrote that himself on his website, which I think is really awesome.
that's great.
That's really, really supportive and cool.
It is.
I will say this, Frank, and I hope you'll write me back after I say this. Don't use Comic Sans font on your website.
Oh,
That's all I'm
no.
saying. Comic Sans is out. Got to get you just switch the font, dude.
Right.
But he and Sarah, or Miss Koenigke, did really a great job because they talk about that creepiness. So, like, for one thing, creepiness is just this word that gets thrown around.
Right.
But
How
what
do
does
we
it
define
mean?
it?
Yeah. How do you quantify it? Right.
You don't. It's a feeling.
Right. So that's what they're doing is like, hey, we got it kind of in, like before we got schooled on Stockholm Syndrome.
Sure.
You know, we were thinking, hey, nobody's really looking at this. And we realized, oh, people have started looking at it. Well, this is what he did. And funnily enough, in our email exchanges, he said for the last 6 years, every Halloween now, people are coming to him because the creepiness article does talk about clowns.
Oh,
And
gotcha.
he boiled this paper down and published it a couple of times in Psychology Today.
Oh, okay.
And Psychology Today has a wide range of quality of articles. This was one of the ones that was really great. But he talks about creepiness being a form of anxiety that stems from or arises out of our ambiguity of whether there is something that we fear or don't fear in a situation or an individual. So it's not clear whether or not we are in a situation where we're under a threat, right?
So, what are some things in movies that creep you out? Like for me, it's like in The Grudge when they're moving in really weird, shifty, jerky movements.
Their bodies are not moving like a normal gait.
Right. It's not
Yeah.
fluid. It's really jerky and there's some kind of contortion to the body.
Yeah.
Or like walking backwards or crawling backwards or some of that. When humans do sort of creepy crawly things, that freaks me out. That's super creepy to me.
That doesn't have so much an effect on me, mainly because my former boss, Allison Jones, was so creeped out by The Ring
Right.
that I practiced doing that walk, and I would walk backwards into her office.
You're a terrible
Oh,
person.
she would like scream at me. I love you, Allison.
We're the second podcast to reference Allison Jones this week, by the way.
Really? Oh,
I've been
'cause
listening
The
to Office
started.
Ladies. Oh my gosh.
Which is a phenomenal idea, and
Yep.
how charming they must be. I
Love
haven't
them.
had a chance to listen to it yet. But yeah, Allison's great.
Sorry.
That's okay.
What creeps you out?
Oh, what creeps me out? You know what creeps me out is distorted mouths and eyes.
Oh, like mouth sewn shut and like.
Or like, I'm trying to think. There was one scene and it was cut. I remember when I was working on the DVD extras for Lord of the Rings. There's a scene in the final movie with a character called the Mouth of Sauron, and he is like this sort of human that has been completely contaminated by being a demon for so long that he's just this warped mass of a person. So he comes out on this horse in this iron armor, and what they did to make it look weird was they took his mouth, and instead of horizontal, they made his mouth vertical. And it didn't quite work. And it didn't quite work because it was so disturbing.
It sounds kind of dumb, but I imagine it being disturbing.
It was awful. Yeah, so that's...
Mouths and eyes.
Yeah, mouths and eyes being all weirded out is
Yeah.
gross. So, back to evolutionary psychology, which is this is what this is about, is that, there is a term that's used called agency detection, which is sort of this built-in mechanism, which interestingly enough is really what Gavin de Becker's stuff is all about,
Yeah, that
right?
we
About
talked
like
about.
keeping yourself safe.
And stalking.
So, the feeling of being creeped out, it's unpleasant. But here's the thing. Part of the unspoken social contract of living in the modern world is that you don't just turn and run away from individuals that are acting in a certain way. Now, maybe less so now than in the past, because we've talked about that in the most recent episode about
Right.
like sort of the homogenization of society and how we don't really accept eccentric people as easily as we used to. But this is one of those times where we go back to that idea of ambiguity. Like, I don't know how I'm supposed to act in this situation. Is this person being funny?
Right.
Or are they threatening me? So being creeped out is like, I don't really
Like, that's
know
a
how to
little
handle this.
girl, which I shouldn't be scared or threatened by a little girl, but she sort of looks strange, and so that makes it creepy. Again, it's sort of those conflicting things that are happening.
Yeah, and what I just thought of is the two zombie girls. There's one in the first episode of Walking Dead.
That's the best.
And in the Day of the Dead, the remake with Sarah Polley, that the little girl neighbor. Do you remember
I
that
don't
from
remember
like it's
that.
one of the first scenes of the movie? Fucking terrifying.
Oh.
Terrifying. More than that was, but that's not creepy. That's just terrifying.
Yeah.
So, interestingly enough, what he does in this research paper is that he points out that when you're in this space of ambiguity, it could be perilous to ignore your intuition, right? So if you stay in that interaction, you could be placing yourself in danger. And what happens, though, is that you're generating, or what is being generated is a freeze moment. So fight, flight, freeze.
Right.
Except that it's not like an overtly clear situation where you're in danger, but you're still freezing because it's all these dysregulated emotions are hitting you at
Right.
once.
Well, and if you just think about when you're creeped out, I kind of think of my body language. Like, my shoulders come up.
Yeah.
I sort of like get stiff and freeze.
Or we get
like,
we get a big uncomfortable smile with like really scared eyes. That's
Giggle there.
So what he was trying to do is he tried to generate some hypotheses to build on. And what they were able to nail down is that if creepiness communicates potential threat, then males should be more likely to be perceived as creepy than females, because males are more violent and they're
Right.
more physically threatening to more people. And that's based on previous research by McAndrews back in 2009. So, and then related to that first prediction, females should be more likely than males to perceive some sort of sexual threat from a creepy person.
Okay.
Right? Which makes sense. That's a good
Totally.
hypothesis. Third, occupations that signal a fascination with threatening stimuli, like death or non-normative sex, so paraphilic or fetishistic sex, may attract individuals that would be comfortable in such a work environment. So some occupations would be perceived as more creepy than other occupations. So it could be sex workers might be creepy. The idea of that might creep some people out. Being a mortician
Yeah.
might
Right.
creep some people out, or being someone who does like a nephrologist who does autopsies would be considered to be a creepy job.
Right.
Then the last one is that they say that they hypothesize that creepiness is a function of uncertainty about threat, non-normative verbal behavior, and actions or characteristics associated with unpredictability. So the thing that I come back to, which I'm always referring to SNL, is when Julia Sweeney used to do the character Pat,
Right.
which is completely inappropriate in today's
Sure.
environment because that person was non-gender conforming,
Right.
and we were using it as a sense, as a point of humor, which is
Sure.
completely inappropriate. But if we want to take a step back and look at it and look at how uncomfortable people were because they couldn't figure out how to act in a certain situation.
Yeah, it's definitely an example of the times.
Yeah.
And what makes us uncomfortable or creeped out.
Right. So discomfort due to sort of inability to assess what someone's gender or sexuality is versus...
Well, it still happens. I mean, come on. It's not like
No,
there are
it's
people
still-
that unfortunately are still in that headspace.
Right. And just can't move past it and feel
Right.
like they have to. They got to. It has to be a concrete, quantifiable
Yes.
term. So,
Yes.
so
So basically,
the other one was creepiness for hobbies. Like,
oh gosh.
there are people that fall into that category that people perceiving other people as having hobbies that don't fit the norm,
like taxidermy.
like taxidermy, or collecting insects, or too much collecting. It could be like you walk into a home and it's, a little old lady that has,
A gazillion salt
1500
and pepper shaker.
right. Or Victorian dolls. I mean, that would
right.
creep me out.
So when I was in, I guess, middle school, I did some theater like around that time when I was doing dance. And I had all of those like theater masks, the porcelain ones with the ribbons on the side.
Like the Venetian.
Yeah, the
sort of
painted
yeah.
ones. So that was kind of my thing for a while.
It's
those
so
weird,
interesting.
creepy
Well, now to
things.
think of, I mean, but it was
But
also
I
at the
mean,
time, it was
I
kind of
was
cool.
a 12-year-old
right?
kid. Come on.
So collecting dolls, insect, reptiles, or body parts such as teeth, bones, fingernails is considered creepy.
Well,
yeah.
fuck yeah, it is. Are you kidding me?
But the second most frequently mentioned creepy hobby is watching. So watching, following, or taking pictures of people, especially children, was thought to be creepy by many participants in this study. And bird watchers were considered creepy by many as well, which...
Okay. One is basically criminal.
Yeah, I mean, like, how would you lump those two in? I mean, I think that bird watching has been used for comic effect.
Right.
You know,
right.
it's like, oh, it's a crazy old bird watcher, and they're always like
Yeah.
binoculars, and they have all the gear on and everything. And yet, when I'm up in Idlewild at the rented cabin, I'm like, wait, what kind of bird is that? I mean, I'm
Let
fascinated.
me look at my
by it.
book.
Yeah.
I mean, Google that.
Wait, isn't there an app? I could just take a picture of it. It'll tell me. So what they found in this study is that this is what they were able to nail down from testing, and they went through a lot of testing of these individuals and questionnaires, and it's all statistically verified in this paper. Creepiness is a response to the ambiguity of threat. Males are more physically threatening to people of both sexes than are females. Males are more likely to be perceived as creepy by males and females alike. And the link made by females between the perception of being sexually threatened and creepiness is consistent with females being simply at greater risk of sexual assault.
Sure.
And also the costs of that potential sexual assault are way much higher than it would be with males.
Right.
So the other thing is we're placed on guard by people who use non-normative, non-verbal behavior, people who touch us inappropriately, and sort of the idea of appropriate touch continues to change and evolve very rapidly in today's world. And then the collection bit. So going back to linking it back around is like I think we look at people in sort of non-traditional occupations, right? So we talked about morticians, we talked about sex workers, but we also, we could also extend this to dancers. I remember when I was working as a performer and looking back on it now, I didn't really get it as a young man at all, but looking back now on how badly female dancers were treated on set by the grips, by the directors. I mean, because I did a bunch of music videos.
You
and
mean
stuff.
like inappropriate
Completely
touching
inappropriate,
and,
and like thinking that it
just
was
like
okay.
their objects and props.
Just because you use your body for a certain
You're doing
expression,
something
right?
physical, right.
Then you're less than. And it's sort of, there's a parallel between we judge people who are clowns and go into this particular field. And then there's studies on people who are comedians and clowns. And it found that, that there are some commonalities. People who work as comedians and clowns tend to be superior intelligence.
Wow.
They feel misunderstood. They have a higher level of anxiety, suspiciousness, and depression, and a higher need for approval.
Interesting.
Yeah. Many
Ooh, I like
cases
that tidbit.
in the quantitative interviews, they were found to use humor as a defense against anxiety, which I can certainly relate
Sure.
to. And I was a class clown, and I'm still a class clown, so I can relate to all of
Yeah.
that.
Some of the funniest people I ever worked with were the coroner investigators that would come out to scenes when we had a dead body. Like, I got along with them so well. Their sense of humor was hilarious. I remember the first time I had my first dead body call. I was on training. This guy had drank himself to death. He was naked on his bed, bleeding out of every hole in his body.
Oh, my God.
It was disgusting. The apartment looked like a murder scene. And when the coroner finally got there, I was like, tell me everything you're doing. I want to know what you're doing. Show me, teach me. Like, I just was soaking it all up. And so he goes, well, okay, I've done just about everything, but we really need to roll him over and just make sure there's not a knife sticking out of his back, just to check. And so he's like, help me roll him over. And he was a big guy. So my training officer is standing kind of in the corner of the room. And so the coroner and I take the guy's body, roll it over. And as it rolls over, the body lets out air. So basically this dead body farts.
Oh, my God.
We died laughing. We thought it was the funniest thing ever. My training officer, he just looks at us dead and he's like, you guys are terrible people, and walked out. And we just look at each other and shrug and just die laughing.
Oh, my God.
Ha, die laughing. No pun intended.
And on that note,
Yeah.
we're going to take a break.
Yes, we are. In your research, did you find a time period where it sort of shifted to clowns being creepy?
Yeah, the Smithsonian article was really great with the dates and sort of creating a timeline. And what they were able to find was that there was a literary critic in 1876, a French critic, Edmond de Goncourt. And he wrote, "The clown's art is now rather terrifying and full of anxiety and apprehension. Their suicidal feats, their monstrous gesticulations and frenzied mimicry, reminding one of the courtyard of a lunatic asylum."
Jesus.
Yeah, I mean, that's really interesting. So, but here's what's crazy. So it wasn't just recently the creepy and dangerous clown, because in 1892, less than 20 years later, there was an Italian opera, Pagliacci, which is the Italian word for clown, and the main character, whose wife cheats on him, he murders his cheating wife on stage during a performance. So it's a huge tragedy, but it's like a murderous clown back in 1892. Jeez.
So that's all 100 years before
before
I really became aware of anything being creepy, which of course, it's my lifetime. So just looking through that egocentric lens. So John Wayne Gacy was 1972 to 1978 that he was committing his crimes. Of course, not until he got caught did we put two and two together of why that was incredibly disturbing. So you have sort of the mid 70s there, but then the 80s is really when we start, I don't want to say when we start seeing it in film, but really memorable ones that we think of today.
Right.
So the earliest was 1984 with Poltergeist.
Right, that freaking clown doll.
That clown doll is, when you really go back and watch it, the doll is just so odd and big and giant hands, like just when you talk about creepy, kind
so
of.
So the proportions are off.
Yeah, it's not even this cute, nice clown. It's these weird proportions, in just an overall terrifying film. But it's this doll. If you don't remember, if you for some godforsaken reason have never seen Poltergeist. So this doll is in the kids' room, and there's a couple of scenes where it's really creeping the kids out during the lightning storm, and they're, trying to throw a jacket on its face to keep from looking at it in the middle of the night.
Because the lightning keeps lighting up the room, and the poor kid just keeps looking at it, and he's terrified.
Right.
Yeah.
As any kid would be. I mean, we can all relate to a scene like that. But hopefully your parents aren't sticking a clown at the foot of your bed to stare at you all night. But yeah, so the scene I really remember is when everything, including Carol Ann, gets sucked into the closet.
Yeah.
Is that the clown gets sucked in too, and then when her parents are kind of finally pulling all the stuff out and trying to get to her, they just see a body up against the wall with a sheet over, and they think it's Carol Ann dead.
Oh, right.
And they pull the sheet off, and it's this
It's the
stupid
clown doll that was wearing like a little jester's hat with jingle bells on it, right?
Right, and there's different points in the movie where you kind of can hear jingle bells going,
Oh my God, that's
or that
so
it's
creepy.
it's panning the room and it has changed position.
Right.
During the tree attack scene with the boy, when they pan to Carol Ann, the clown is now in bed with her.
Oh, I don't
actually
remember
sitting
that
in
at
bed
all.
with her at that point. But then more towards the end, actually, I think it's when they're like their last night at the house, the clown attacks the boy. Robbie is
Yeah.
the son. And its arm kind of grows long like a snake and coils around his neck and drags him
Yeah.
under the bed. So that was terrifying because it has directly to do with children.
Right.
And then in 1986, along comes It, which also has to do with, murder and eating children by a clown.
And I was always a huge Stephen King fan as a kid. I mean, I just loved it.
Oh, yeah.
It was like, I remember reading it and going, this sex scene is weird. I mean, I was like a youngish guy
Yeah.
going,
Yeah.
this is odd. But the whole story was terrifying. And then watching the miniseries back then, I mean, it was groundbreaking for its time. Let me tell you, none of it holds up except for Tim Curry's performance. I think Tim Curry's performance is uncanny valley creepy in a completely different way.
Yes.
Because he's saying all of these sweet things and warm and, we want to play. And there's always this undertone of danger. I mean, that speaks to what a great actor he is.
Oh, yeah.
And no disrespect to Sarsgaard. It's the younger Sarsgaard that
Right.
plays him.
Right.
It's just a different Pennywise.
Oh,
but
sure.
The acting from the other actors and the direction is so bad in
Is
the
it?
first movie.
God, I
it's
have not
unwatchable.
seen
I
it.
tried watching it on Sci-Fi last month, but Tim Curry,
miniseries.
yeah, the miniseries.
Yeah.
But Tim Curry is just amazing.
Yeah, he is. Have you seen the new It, Part 2?
No, I just saw part 1.
Me either. And then my personal favorite, 1988, Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Really, I couldn't watch it.
My sister and I watched that over and over as 10, 11, 12-year-olds
Okay.
and thought it was so hilarious.
Oh, okay.
A little creepy in a sense. I went back and watched it recently because this year at Halloween Horror Nights at Universal Studios, one of the mazes was Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Okay.
So I had to go back and watch
Right.
to get all the references that were in there. First of all, it's one of the greatest titles for a movie of all
True.
time.
It's so schlocky, completely schlocky.
But these aliens who look like clowns come to Earth and disguise themselves as clowns, even though they're creepy as fuck, but disguise themselves as clowns thinking that will make it more likable to have the humans come to them.
And isn't their ship like a big circus tent?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
like it looks like their weapons are big and cartoony.
They're
and
big cartoony guns, and they shoot either popcorn, which turns into little man-eating clowns, or it shoots cotton candy, which cocoons people, and they hang them from the ceiling in these big pink cocoons.
like
It's so
cotton
gross.
candy.
Yes.
Gross.
So in the maze at Universal Studios, you're like going through a room, bumping into these cocoons that have like dead faces on them.
How cool.
It was awesome.
That's
it was
cool.
very nostalgic. It's totally my childhood. So those were really the ones of the 80s. I think more recently, very notable, beyond creepy, is American Horror Story Freak Show.
Twisty.
That clown.
That clown
is
is
the scariest thing ever.
terribly frightening, but also, and I have mixed feelings about Ryan Murphy, as everyone that in my orbit well knows. But one of the things that I found really interesting is that, he's played as a psychopath, obviously, but you kind of see how he got there.
Right, his backstory.
His backstory is that he was just not, he's kind of simple-minded, I guess would be the word back then, and very, lower intelligence, and, he gets horribly mutilated. Oh, it's this horrible mutilation.
Yeah, and then has that fake painted smile on. Is just all of it is works really well, And wasn't that one of the mazes when we went
Yeah,
to Halloween
it
Horror
was,
Nights a couple years ago together? So we had to run into that clown in some of those haunted houses. And then, obviously, of the fall is the new Joker movie. This was interesting. We talked with Nama Cates on Incel a little bit about this. And I do not want to harp on any of the incel stuff too much, but I think it's an excellent movie. Just shot beautifully, done so well. He is incredible. I mean, he's a little crazy probably in real life.
But you know what? Good for him. I mean, I've heard that the take on the story is it's original, and I am relieved that it's not a dog whistle to incels, because that would have been really badly done. And maybe this is, our society's on edge right now. We've got hypervigilance coming at us from many different directions, and media will jump on anything. That's their job, is to jump on things, and we know, working in conjunction with law enforcement, that you have to take any potential opportunity.
So what we're referencing is that a couple of weeks ago, there was basically a memo sent out to the U.S. military before Joker opened, warning, saying, hey, essentially, don't take your family to go see Joker opening night. There have been some threats, and essentially, it's sort of hearkening back to, I think, a lot of the outrage before the threat and before this memo went out was that the families of the Aurora, Colorado shooting were concerned about this movie inciting violence, because when that perpetrator decided to shoot up a movie theater showing a Batman movie, essentially he was sort of dressed as Joker, green hair, a little bit of a painted face. And so this was really touching a nerve with those families that had family members who were victims in 2012.
And there was a brief subset on the incel boards of clown cells, because they were making assumptions that the backstory of the Joker was going to be that he was an incel, which is not supported by the narrative that they've generated for this storyline. So
it's not.
It's interesting how this all got twisted around.
Yeah, all of this stuff
I'm glad that we didn't jump on it, because you and I are in the milieu where we're trained to look at threat assessment and make connections, and I'm glad that we didn't jump to it and feed the fire, as it were.
So there were some threats made. This memo was given out to the military saying, maybe think twice about going to the movie theater this weekend. Opening weekend, I think it was October 4th that the movie opened. A movie theater here in Southern California in Huntington Beach actually ended up shutting down because the police did become aware of what they called a credible threat in the late afternoon. And decided to make a large presence at the movie theater where the threat was geared towards, even though it did not specifically mention Joker. And then around 7 o'clock, the movie theater just decided to close down for the night. So, it impacted, but we talk about law enforcement having this presence and rising to really the call from the community to make them feel safe, and not that they're overreacting or that we are saying incels are, going to go commit acts of violence because of a movie that, it's been proven time and time again of the myth that video games and entertainment incite violence in people. Movies depicting violence have been around for how long? For
a long time.
Now that we just have a Joker movie.
Books and all sorts
or vigilante movies
right.
and of all sorts. But people were fearful. So, of course, law enforcement is going to show a presence and make people feel like they're safe. So, Joker was a fantastic movie. I think a lot of the dust has settled from all of that. But I wanted to talk about an interesting piece of fear of clowns that happened not so long ago, and kind of moving away from entertainment side a little bit, but sort of the great clown panic of 2016. So,
which I'm still mystified by. So I hope you found some good research on this.
well, I found kind of what happened
Okay.
because if you guys remember, like late summer of 2016, it was all over the news. Seemed like there was more and more law enforcement agencies coming out saying that they were looking into these clown sightings or threats against children from just creepy clowns wandering the streets. That's how I remember sort of the soundbite. So it all started in August of 2016 when a clown known as Gags the Clown was walking around Green Bay at 2 a.m. looking hella creepy with holding 3 black balloons in a tattered clown outfit and just sort of standing around.
How the fuck did he not get shot?
I don't know.
Like, serious. I mean, and I mean,
Yeah.
actually mean that seriously. Like, and not even from someone who wasn't being, like, oh, this clown is threatening me with these balloons, but that somebody that's,
Don't threaten me with your balloons.
that's somebody that's unbalanced. Like, what the
Right.
hell? Boom. Like, I just
Probably because he was the first one, but
Okay.
people get there. So later that night, this Facebook page goes up for Gags the Clown. I mean, it turned out it was a marketing campaign for a low-budget horror movie. That's what kicked this all off.
okay.
But by late August, it spread throughout all over the nation. In South Carolina, people were shooting their guns into the woods after rumors were spreading that clowns were luring children into the woods.
So it's almost like the Satanic Panic of the
Completely.
80s, right?
It is almost mass hysteria.
Wow.
It really is bordering on that. About this time, false reports start to roll in, and there were actually quite a few prosecutions for false reports of either being attacked by clowns or being threatened by clowns because it was starting to perpetuate the panic, and the cops were like, why are you coming forward with this? So they were prosecuting people that were coming forward with false reports. August 3rd, there was the Penn State clown riot when 500 people, mostly college students, took to the streets with bats and different things. They were going to go attack the clowns that were luring children away. You look up pictures of this, and it's a bunch of like drunk, shirtless college students like, let's go get them.
I'm just sitting here with, bathing in incredulity. I mean,
Yeah. So there were
So mass hysteria, mob mentality.
Yeah, completely.
Not a good combination.
Completely. There were about a dozen arrests throughout the country for false reports, threats, or just chasing people. Primarily, this was in, wait for it, Alabama, Georgia, Maryland, New Jersey, North Carolina, and Pennsylvania all had sightings of clowns. And this was completely perpetuated through social media. Of course, it was like wildfire. Numerous Facebook messages went out warning of creepy clowns that are going to be driving around in white vans, of course, right? I mean, come on.
It should be ice cream trucks.
Yeah, right. I know.
Playing like really slowed down, warped
That's
ice
how it
cream
was in
truck
Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Oh, was it?
Threatening violence at schools was something that was being passed around on Facebook messages. These clowns were going to act out at schools. A 16-year-old girl used a Facebook page called Caleb Clown and wrote about going to schools with a firearm and threatening schools in Alabama. But yeah, some mental health professionals at the time cited it as mass hysteria. It was really interesting to look at other psychological explanations that people were offering at the time. That one, it was really easy to fake for attention, to say I just saw a sighting of something, and this people's need to feel connected and to be a part of something that was national news.
Well, since we're talking about Alabama, this has probably been a decade, but on St. Patrick's Day, about a decade ago, there were supposed leprechaun sightings all over South Alabama. And the funny thing about it was that everybody they were interviewing was so joyful. I mean, instead of like a mass panic where we're going to go kill the clowns. This was like,
mass euphoria.
Yeah, that leprechaun's up in the tree. I know he's here. You know, they were like, and they were kind of, everybody was in on it, and the reporter is laughing so much she can't even keep a straight
that's
face.
Cute.
But it was,
I gotta look that up.
yeah, it's
that's kind of
pretty
sweet.
funny. Leprechauns in Alabama.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get me a pot of gold. So I think that's what he says.
There was one death linked to this, to an apparent clown hoax during this time. In Pennsylvania, excuse me, a 16-year-old boy was fatally stabbed on a Sunday after a confrontation that may have been provoked by a prowler wearing a clown mask.
What a dumbass.
I know. So that same year, 2016, you and I and my sister, Molly, went to Universal Studios Halloween Horror Nights. And so, as you guys may or may not know, so at Universal Studios, they have their backlot tram tour. So essentially, you get on this tram and they drive you through the backlots on a normal day.
So
there,
you would
right?
see like the shark from Jaws. You would go through. You'd see
Town
the site.
Square from
mini movies.
Yeah, mini movies.
Like
but Back
they
to
use
the
a lot of
Future.
they use a lot of the same sets over again, and it's even like it's a fraction of what it was 60 years ago. It was
Yeah.
like just acres and acres of towns and villages of sets.
Yeah, but
And
you
the
go by the
Psycho
Psycho
House.
House and the
Yeah.
Bates Motel. And so during Halloween Horror Nights, usually that area is themed. The first one I think I did was The Walking Dead. And so you get off the tram, you walk through the back lots, and there's just zombies, and it's really, really cool. So in 2016, the year that we went, one of the years that we went, the Terror Tram had a clown theme. And it was
It was very clever.
It was really clever. So when you get on the tram, you're on the tram for a little bit, and there's like a video loop playing.
like it's like a documentary almost, or is it a news broadcast?
No, I think it was more documentary style. So they start setting it up for you, and they're telling you about Koodles the Clown, who several decades ago, he had a kids show that was filmed on the Universal Studios backlot.
And so then they're showing black and white clips
Like
of the
footage.
kids shows, and the
Right.
kids are like kind of uncomfortable.
Yeah. And so then they talk about when negative attention starts coming down on the clowns in the 70s, his ratings start dropping. And he ended up being reduced to the park mascot at that point. So sort of out of a job as far as his regular gig, not very popular, and eventually starts to become unstable, desperately trying to connect with tourists and visitors.
And start creeping people out.
And he gets banned from the park. And the legend is he walks off into the Hollywood Hills, never to be heard from again.
It was really well done.
It was really well done. It was really cool. And you're sitting there watching this, and
it's almost like Blair Witch at this point, because you're looking at like footage of people walking through the Hollywood Hills, and you're finding like
seeing little glimpses of him, like Bigfoot.
like Bigfoot, yeah, and then also like deer remnants, because we do have a lot of a wild deer population here in the Hollywood
Right.
Hills, and so
The
you would see
deers
like
are
a
going-
carcass, the deer are missing.
The population's going down. So in 2016, he reemerges permanently transformed into a psychotic killer clown, now known as Hollywood Harry. And so that's what's sort of leading you up to, okay, time to disembark the tram and go out and walk
it broke
along.
down.
Oh, did it?
Yeah.
Was that the thing?
Or
That
no, it was blocked because remember they have the fake police there. There were police cars with all the lights going off, and they had actors dressed as police.
That's right. I forgot
drinking
about that.
coffee and eating donuts and kind of wandering around, and you're like, and the tram's like, oh, I'm so sorry, like the road is blocked. You're going to have to walk to the
rest of
next
the
segment,
way,
and so
right.
then you have to run a gauntlet
Of just crazy clowns.
of crazy clowns lunging at you with huge rubber axes and mallets. And
Okay, do you remember the Flasher clown? So there was this clown. There's all kinds of clowns that are, creepy, jumping out at you, all of that as you're walking through. And there was this one, and he's got this big old trench coat on. And I think he was bald, and he had this little party hat
little tiny
on
hat
at
on
the
this
top.
like kind of jauntily on his
And
head.
he would just jump in front of you and open his coat, and there was just a bunch of, were they dildos or like penises all over his body, right?
Was it?
Was it all
I thought
stuck
it was
all
entrails. I thought he was cut open.
You might be right.
God, okay, you need to go to therapy because you thought it was
What the hell
all.
am I thinking about? So yeah, he comes over and he opens like he's flashing to you, and then it's like some gruesome scene. Okay, maybe I was wanting there to be lots of dildos.
Could be. Yeah, I just don't even want to go there.
But he was the flasher clown. So that was a lot of fun. I thought it was really cool that they played off of this mass hysteria that was going on and worked that into part of the ride. All right, that's Killer Clowns. Do you have anything else? I don't have anything else on clowns.
Well, I wanted to go back because, it's interesting because I love horror movies so much. But I think Killer Clowns was like really one of the only ones I saw on it. And like I was saying, I really liked Tim Curry's more than anybody else.
Sure.
But there have been a couple of, I like Rob Zombie as a musician, which is really weird to say because
That is
apparently
weird coming
he's
from you.
not great, but like I like his look and I like the music that he does. His movies are like hillbilly aesthetic.
Right.
And I mean, for one or two, I thought were like really interesting, but then it just, I don't know, it's weird. But he has Sid Haig, who just passed away.
Oh, right. He did.
Played a killer clown in House of a Thousand Corpses that was really, really disturbing, a really disturbing clown. And then I wanted to mention that there was one that was a very interesting story from 2014. There's a movie called Clown that started out as a fake trailer about a guy whose kid is having a birthday party. The clown doesn't show up, so the dad decides, I think there's a clown costume in the attic. So he goes and he finds the clown costume in the attic, and it's cursed. So he does it for the party, puts it on, and then he can't get the nose off, and the makeup comes off. But he did this. So he did this trailer, and as a joke, they put it on YouTube, and they put in it that it was being produced by Eli Roth, just as a joke.
Okay.
And then Eli Roth saw it and said, that's a good idea, and actually produces a horror movie. And it's actually, it's such a dumb idea, and it's really, really creepy. Like, the monster they turn him into is really quite scary.
Cool.
And then what was the other one that was super good, I thought? Oh, if you've ever seen the television show, was it the television show? No, it's the movie, Shakes the Clown. Bobcat Goldthwait. This was, I think, 1991. The guy who is the voice of SpongeBob SquarePants, Tom Kenny, plays a children's show clown that's a cocaine addict and a murderer. And it's funny and disturbing at the same time, if you ever get a chance to see that. There's a lot of them. I mean, there was a John Wayne Gacy movie that starred the actor that played Pee Wee Herman's nemesis in Pee-wee's Big Adventure. And it's not a good movie because it's shot in California and it's supposed to be, Midwest, and it doesn't look Midwest. And it's sort of more atmospheric than anything else, which is too bad because he's a good actor and it had the potential to be a really good movie, but I just didn't think it was very good. But
who's your favorite clown?
My favorite clown?
Doesn't have to be scary, but
I have to say, as weird as it is, we were just in Vegas with a bunch of people a couple of months ago, and we went to see O, which is an amazing, amazing Cirque du Soleil show that's all water effects.
Right.
And you can't freaking believe what they do. I mean, they're divers diving 3 stories into what you thought was a solid stage, which is now turned into a pool. And then you look one direction and suddenly it's a solid stage again. And then it's a pool and there's a house rising out and there are French court. I mean, it's amazing. But they had 2 clowns that are sort of the interstitial transitional entertainment. And they had minimal makeup on and they didn't use real words. They kind of spoken gibberish.
Right.
And it was some of the most amazing comedy I've ever seen.
Neat.
It was really good. So I feel badly that they get a bad shake, but it's like the birthday clown.
My favorite will always be Krusty the Clown from The Simpsons. Talk about chain smoking, cocaine snorting clown.
And anything to make a buck. We'll sell his name to anything.
Totally.
What did we eat? We got a Krusty something when we were at Universal. I think we got a Krusty burger or Krusty beer. We went to Duff Beer last time and had beer.
Yeah, we went to Moe's Tavern.
Yeah.
And got that. Yeah. Oh, yeah, we did go to to the Duff Beer Garden.
Yeah.
For sure. No, that's so awesome. Okay, I think that's it. I want you guys to listen after this episode. We're going to play the new trailer for the podcast Fool Me Twice. And the trailer is a few minutes long, and it features Dr. Scott in it.
I hope I sound okay. I was so amped. That was the day we were all at the conference, and we had not eaten. We were just flying on like 2 gallons of coffee.
Yeah.
But Jules is wonderful, and she's got a great story, and everyone really should listen to this story because romance scams are a pox on our society.
I think it's a good warning tale for sure. So make sure you guys give it a listen after a promo at the end of this episode. And happy Halloween, everyone. Hope you are going to have fun and be safe out there.
Happy Halloween.
All right, we'll see you next time on LA
Not So
Confidential.
Bye, folks.
Bye-bye.